super excited to be here, super excited to present. Web development is pretty awesome. It's super gratifying to see how awesome it is to be able to type code, see it magically appear on the screen. And so that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. But yeah, without further ado, let's dive right into what our agenda for this next hour is going to look like. So we're going to just start with like a high-level introduction of how websites are actually structured and like what are the different languages we use to create them, how they interact with each other. These are primarily HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And we're going to dive into each of those individually. And then we're going to talk a bit about having them all come together and eventually deploying onto a server for completely free, and you'll get a link that you can share with absolutely anybody. And as we go, you can ask any questions you'd like in the chat. We have several helpers, and as well as me, I'm going to be watching the chat and helping moderate. So if you have questions as we go, definitely don't hesitate to send something in the chat, because if you have a question, you are definitely not the only person. Sweet. So with that, let's get into actually understanding this stuff. HTML, CSS, JavaScript. These are the programming languages that make up the whole internet. And they're literally found on any single web page, even the one that we're on right now. So starting with HTML, right? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. And this is the backbone of your web page. This is where the content comes in and the structure. So like, if you have a very basic web page with different text of different sizes, maybe there are some links in there, or just different things are italicized or whatever. However it's structured, if you have lists of things with paragraphs or headings, they are read by your computer from top to bottom. So if it says, if your first line of HTML says hi, and then the second one says, my name is Max, that's how it's going to appear to somebody looking at that website. You'll see the words hi first, and then my name is Max. But as you might imagine, if we have a web page that just has, like 2 tags and nothing else going on, it's going to look kind of ugly. And we're actually going to see that in just a bit when we get to coding. And that's where CSS comes in. CSS is how we style our web pages and actually make them look presentable. So if we wanted to change the font of a particular tab, or perhaps the color of some text or anything, or we want to add borders to our different elements, this is what we use CSS for. So great, we have a web page. There's some content in there. It doesn't look half bad now that we've added in CSS, but how can we make it come alive? Well, that's where JavaScript comes in. JavaScript is how we can add different behaviors, different things that trigger when you press certain buttons on your keyboard or click on certain things on your screen. We can use JavaScript to add behavior. If we want to add widgets or different click events, as we're actually going to be doing. This is how we kind of blend it all together. So we have an awesome analogy that I'd like to show you to kind of help you better understand what I mean by saying all this. So let's say HTML, right? We just have a little bit of structure, right? It's just top to bottom. We have 2 dots and this horizontal line, right? Kind of plain, kind of boring, whatever, right? So we add in CSS. Now we can actually make it look like a smile. We can add different style properties, and all of a sudden, our top-down page, it kind of looks a little bit better now. And finally, we added the JavaScript, and that's how we actually add interactivity. That's how we can make it come alive. In this example, we made it into a game using JavaScript, right? So with that, this is our little analogy for how different web pages are structured, and they're literally present on even this page that you're on right now. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Samay. I'm about to send a replit link with the starter code in the chat, but we are going to get coding.
Awesome. Max just sent a replit link that we're going to use to get started. So make sure to go to this link, and we're going to make a copy of it. So to do this, click on the replit name on the top left, and then click fork. When you click fork, it might ask you to create a replit account to save this replit. And basically, replit is a cloud code editor. It's a really easy way to write and edit code on the internet. So what I just did is I forked it. So once again, I went to that link, I clicked up here, and I clicked fork. When you click fork, you're basically making a copy of the replit. Just wanted to let you know that you should probably have this in split screen. So have Hopin in one window on the left, and then you can have Replit in one window on the right. It makes it very easy for you to follow along as we go through this workshop. So I'm just gonna make sure my font size is a little larger so you can see what I'm looking at. But I just want to make sure everyone is at this point. They should have their username in the top left, and then the workshop name, Intro to Web Dev. You can rename this later, but try and use Replit just for now, just so we can all be on the same track. And then later you can definitely download this and use your own IDE. Showing fork again, all you gotta do is click on this and then click on fork right here, and you'll be able to create a new Replit. Is audio still breaking up by any chance?
You're good on my end, Samay.
Okay, so it looks like a local issue. Awesome. So let's go ahead and dive into this. So we have three files here: index.html, we have script.js, and then we have style.css. And those are the three types of programming languages that make up the internet, like how Max just informed us. So let's hop into index.html. There's nothing in script and style yet, but we will add something very soon. And when we look at this index.html document, we see a bunch of tags. So this first tag over here, doctype HTML, that's basically telling the browser that this is an HTML document. Next up, we have an opening HTML tag. Now notice how I said opening? There's actually a closing tag that goes with this opening tag, and every single HTML tag has a closing tag. So you can see this is the opening HTML tag, and then down here on line 21 is the closing H1 tag. It's very similar, but there's a slash right here. So you can see this pattern everywhere else. There's an opening tag over here for head, and then there's a closing tag here. And everything in between the head tag includes different metadata about the web page. And when I say metadata, I'm saying different information about the web page that the browser needs to display the web page. So there's things like the character set. There is the viewport, which basically says, you don't need to worry about this too much, but it basically says to make the size of the web page proportional to the size of the device or the screen, whether you're on a phone or a tablet or a computer. And then here is your title. So this is the web page title that actually gets displayed at the top of the tab. So if I just type in my name right here, feel free to type in your name, and then click run. And then what I want you to do is after you type in your name in between the opening title tag and the closing title tag, click on this open in a new tab button on the right. So once you do that, you'll be opening your blank website in a new tab. And as you can see, the title of your tab is what you indicated right here. So the title of your website, which is illustrated here on this tab, is exactly what you typed in here. So that's the web page title. Moving on, this is a link tag that links your HTML document to the style.css document. And we're going to be doing some style work a little later, so you don't need to worry about that just yet. But that wraps up the head portion of the document. So now we know what the head document does from a high level. Let's move on. And we see that there's a body tag. There's an opening body tag and there's a closing body tag. And within the body tag, you will want to have all the content for your web page. So we're going to be typing in all our HTML within the body tag because that's actually what's displayed to the web page. And then right here we have a script tag, which once again links our HTML document to our JavaScript document, the same way that the link tag links our HTML document to the style.css document. Very cool. So just wanted to make sure everyone is at this point and there are no questions. If you have a question, always remember to send a question in the chat and one of our workshop helpers can get you up to speed right away. So moving on, we are here in body. Let's write our first HTML element. I like to start with the header element. So the header element has a bunch of different forms. There's H1, H2, H3, and it goes all the way till H6. So let's just start with H1. So I'm going to write an opening H1 tag, and then I'm going to write my name in between, and then I'm going to do a closing H1 tag. Feel free to follow along word for word, except put your own name there. And then once you're done with this, click run, and you should see your name in the web page. And it's kind of ugly. It is in Times New Roman, and we'll fix that right away. But if you take a look at that, it's just right there. You can even open it in a new tab. Here, I'm going to go to the new tab, and I'm going to refresh it. Awesome. You just wrote your first little bit of HTML. Now, I told you that there's a header 1 tag, and there's also a header 2 tag and header 3 tag as well. So let's go ahead and write a subtitle with an H2 tag. So I'm going to do, I am a builder and runner. You can write whatever you want here. It can be as long as short as you want. I just wrote something short and simple. I'm going to click run. Awesome. So it should say, I'm a builder and a runner over here on the web page. And if I go back, you can see that I have my title and I have my subtitle. So just want to make sure everyone is at this point. So a little fun thing that we like to do is I want you to copy and paste your subtitle and send it in the chat. I'm curious to see what people are talking about and what they're saying about themselves. So yeah, I can start. I'm a builder and a runner. Awesome. I think like my chat's a little bit delayed, but I'm sure you guys are sending that, which is cool. Max, can you confirm?
Yeah, mine is blowing up. So
awesome. Yeah, my chat is actually delayed until like 5 minutes ago. Oh, it freed up now. Oh, okay, I wasn't on the right tab. Sorry, it's hopping stuff, but we're good now. Very cool. Sweet. So now that we're here, we have an H1, we have an H2 tag. Let's go ahead and figure out how we can style this. But before I want to style this, I want to group these two elements together so that I can style both of them at once. I think it would be really easy and cool if we can do that. And we can actually use the div tag, and that stands for divider. So the divider is a really simple tag. It's just a div. So I can do div, opening tag here, and I can do a closing tag right here. Awesome. So what we did is we grouped our H1, H2 tags in a div tag. Sweet. So let's move on and figure out how we can make our website look a little better. If I click run, you'll see that there's no difference because the div tag doesn't have any implications. So let's go into our style.css and write our first little bit of CSS. The HTML indentation does not matter. It just like looks nicer, so you might want to like install some sort of plugin to indent your code, and I think Replit can do that for you. So back in style.css, let's style our web page. So what we can do is we want to style everything in between the opening body tag and the closing body tag. So this is the opening body tag, and then this is the closing body tag. So let's go ahead and target the body element. So to do this, we just need to type in body, and then opening bracket and closing bracket automatically comes with Replit. So you click enter. This is how we target an element. So now we're targeting all the styles in between the opening and closing tag of the body element. And over here, I'm going to first change the font because I don't like the font of being Times New Roman. So I'm going to do font dash family, and then I'll do colon, and I will set this to the Apple font. So what you do if you type in font dash family and then you type in a colon, so that's like the property, and its value will automatically show up as like there's some placeholders that you can pick that Replit has pre-installed for you. So I'm going to pick the Apple system font because I like that, but you can go ahead and do whatever you'd like. If I click run, awesome. Our font just changed to the Apple font. I think it looks a little better already, but there's still a lot of work to be done. So next up, I think that if I look at this over here, right, and refresh the page, okay, that's cool. But I kind of wish this was in the center. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use something called Flexbox in CSS. And we'll definitely give you more resources on how this works. But you can use Flexbox within CSS to center elements. We'll send you more links towards the end of this workshop so you can dig more. But for now, just feel free to follow along. So what we want to do here is we want to tell our web page to display text. So we're telling our web page that we want to use Flexbox in terms of our display method. And then what we want to do is we want to center this element, or we want to center the div. So the div includes, if you remember, the h1 and the h2 tag. So we want to center that div both horizontally and vertically, because we think like the cool effect if everything is centered. So after we do display flex, let's center this horizontally. So I'll justify dash content center. If I click run, awesome. We just centered our text. That's cool, but I wish we could center it vertically as well. So let's go ahead and do that. And yes, I forgot to mention, we do need semicolons at the end in CSS. That's just normal convention. And then let's do align dash items center. So this basically in Flexbox means center things vertically. So if I click run, oh, why isn't it working? Does anyone have any idea why it's not working? So I add align dash item center. And the reason it isn't working is because our web page is trying to center it vertically, but it already thinks it's centered vertically. And the reason it thinks we're centered vertically is because it thinks the web page ends here. The height of the web page is not, the height of the screen. So we have to tell our code or our web page that the height of our web page is 100% of the viewport height, or the height of the screen. So what we can do is do height colon 100 VH. CHVH. It stands for viewport height. So if I click run and then go into the website in a new tab and refresh, awesome. We now have our website with our text centered both horizontally and vertically. Awesome. So the next thing that I want to look into, there's actually so many things that we can do, but the next thing that we should do is maybe we can look at colors and see what colors look like in CSS. But before I do that, you notice that it's the text is centered, so the div is centered. So the div includes the h1 and the h2. I can show you this in a much more easier way. If you right click, you don't need to follow along, just watch this. I'm going to right click and click on inspect element. And once I do this, you'll be able to see a lot of the inner workings of what's going on in the browser. I'm just going to reduce this a bit. Don't know why. Okay, let me just go back into inspect element. And you'll be able to see the source code of the h1 and the h2, and you can see how the div is there. Awesome. So you can see the h1 is just my name, and the h2 once again is a subtitle. And over here, if I click on elements, wait for this to load up real quick. And if I click on body, so body is where our code is, then we have a div. So I'm hovering over this div, and as you can see, it's including the h1 and the h2. And if I click on the div, there's an h1 and then there's an h2. Awesome. So this is what inspect element looks like in any browser. It's very helpful for debugging, and you can even see the styles that are applied. So you can Apple font over here, display flex, and you can uncheck it and see what would happen if it wasn't, that style wasn't applied. So now going back to this, the thing I wanted to address was the text is aligned to the left within the div. So within this div, the text is aligned to the left. I just wish within the div, the text was centered. So to do that, what we can do is go back here, and this time we want to target the div. So I'm going to do div and I'm going to do text dash align center. This time I'm getting everything in between the div. So I'm going to go back here and click run. I just wanted to point out that if you're running into any issues, you can see whatever I'm typing in at this link. So this is my Replit link that I just sent in the chat. And if you're running into any issues, you can just refresh that link and, copy and paste whatever isn't working, so we can move on. And yeah, so now that we're here, I just text align centered. And as you can see, we have our text now centered within the div. It's not vertically aligned. It's not vertically aligned to the left, or horizontally aligned to the left, my bad. So now that we're here, we can experiment a little bit with colors. So I think it would be nice to go back into this div and let's change the color of our text. So I am going to make it color. All you gotta do is type in color, colon, and I'm saying everything within the div, I want to set a certain color. So I'm going to do color red and see what happens. So if I do that and click run, awesome, my text is red. So what you can do literally is type in any color, red, blue, green. But something that's even more cooler is what you can do is you can hover over this color blue and you can select any color over here. It gives you a color wheel, but all you gotta do is hover over any color that you type in. So I am just gonna use a color. I prefer like a dark grayish color. So I'm gonna try that. Let's do something like that. Let's see how it looks. Maybe a little darker, but feel free to make whatever color you want. And once again, to get the color picker, you can just hover over this and it will give you a color picker. I'm gonna click run. Amazing, awesome. So we just got our text here at a certain color. Great. So now next thing that we can do is we can add a nice border around our content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in border. And once again, there's a really helpful website called cssreference.io. We'll link it at the end of the workshop. And it has all of these example properties that you can edit in CSS. So I'm going to set a border of, let's do, maybe 4 pixels, so 4 px. And I want it to be a solid border. You can actually make it dotted if you'd like. Dotted or double, but I'm just going to do solid. So 4px solid, and then this is where you put in the color. So I'm just going to put in red for now and see what it looks like. And if you click run, awesome, you have a border around your content. What I'm going to do is I am going to hover over this, and I'm going to change the color, just like I did before. Maybe I can get the same. I actually prefer to make the color the same as the text. I think that would be nice. So I'm going to do that. So I have a border with the same color as the text, just like that. And you can change the width of the border by editing that 4px. And yeah, so you can play around with it. Once again, always remember that a lot of CSS is trial and error and seeing what looks good. And you're not going to get it the first try, which is why it's so helpful to have a visual editor to the side of you. Now, the next up, I don't like how this text is touching the border. I wish there was like some way I can add some padding. So what you can do is you can type in padding. And I'm just going to do padding of maybe 16 px or 16 pixels. And let's try that. Awesome, looks much better. But you can, once again, experiment with the different border sizes and colors and all that kind of good stuff. And then one more thing that I would try out is it'd be cool to have a box shadow. So we can try out, it'd be cool to have a box shadow like behind it. And it's also cool to, round the borders. So let's try to figure out one, how we can how we can round the corners, and 2, figure out how we can add a box shadow. So I'm going to do box dash shadow. And then the box shadow, you have to first specify the depth. So I'm going to do maybe 8 pixels, and then the offset. So then I'm going to do 8 pixels again. So 8 pixels, 8 pixels, and then whatever color you want. So you can put the same color as before, or you can put whatever color that you'd like. and then just put a semicolon at the end, and then click run, and then awesome, you have a really cool box shadow effect. It really makes your site look 3D in some sense. So if you want, you can change this, and if you do this, you have more of an offset, and then this is like the more of a depth, and so you can play around with that to see what makes more sense. Maybe I'll keep it at like 16 pixels each. I think that looks nice, but definitely this is personal preference. So once we've done this, once again, I just want to send my replit just in case you're running into any issues. You can reference that. So once we finish this, another thing that we can do is we can round the corners. So to round the corners, you can use something called border dash radius. And I think I'm going to set a border dash radius of maybe 4 pixels. So if you do that, you click run, you can see that the corners are now rounded. So if you made that, maybe 16 pixels, it won't look as nice, but just giving you the idea, you can see it's even more rounded. That looks pretty good, actually. I'm gonna keep it. So like something that you might think might not look good actually does look good. So definitely encourage you to try it out. So now that we've figured out, we've learned a bunch of things. We learned like alignment using Flexbox. We learned how to center text. We learned how to change colors and borders and all that good stuff. I think it'd be really cool to learn how to add images into our website. So to add images, once again, image is content. So we need to hop back into our index.html. So I'm going to go back into our index.html, and I am going to add an image tag. So the tag for an image is img. So I'm going to, right above my h1, I am going to do img space src equals empty quote for now. And then the image tag is a little different. It's self-closing, so you can just do a slash and then a greater than sign. So just do that real quick. And what this is the image tag. So we have an image tag, and we have an attribute of source, and we're going to put in the source of our image. So if you want to add an image from yourself from your computer, what you want to do is you want to click on these 3 dots up here, and you want to click on upload file. So click on upload file, and once you click on upload file, it'll open up like an uploader. I'm just going to upload a picture from my desktop, and if you want to do that, all you got to do is do slash the name of your file. So the name of my file is me.jpg, so me.jpg. This is the name of the file, and if you run that, it might be really big, but there's a huge picture of myself. Don't worry, we're going to edit the height of this very, very quickly. But you can either do that, or you can find any website on the internet, right click, and click on copy image address. So suppose I am here and I like this image. I'm going to right click and click on copy image address. And then you can literally link that right over here. So paste that right in between and run, and you have that picture right there. So anywhere on the internet, you can just right click and click on copy image address. So if you want to go to your Instagram or your LinkedIn, you can copy that picture as well. But I'm going to go back and put the really big picture of myself that I uploaded. And hopefully once you got a picture in here, what you can do is head back to your style.css, and let's start editing this picture styles. So once again, we want to type in img, just like how we did before. We want to edit the styles of the image. And I'm going to specify a height. So I'm going to do height, and I will maybe give it a height of, actually it's better to set a max width. It's better to set a max width because it's in terms of responsiveness, it's better to work with the width instead. So I'm going to do max-width, and I'll do it, I'll set it at 100 pixels to see how it looks. And then you can obviously, edit this to see what looks better, but I think I'm good with 100 pixels. And then I also want to round the corners for my image. So if you want to make this a circle, this will only work if you have a perfect square, but you can actually set a border radius of 50% to make it a circle. If you do this, you have a circle. Awesome. But if you don't want to do that, you can once again, do whatever pixel value you'd like. I'm going to see how 8 pixels look. Okay, that looks pretty good, so I'm going to keep it at that. Awesome. So now we have an image, we've styled it, and we've been able to add content and learn how H1 and H2 tags work. I want to move on, and there's just a few more things I'd like to show you, like one or two more things, and then we can move on to some JavaScript. So the next thing that we can learn about is links. So links are very cool in HTML, and they're basically just HTML tags again. So suppose I want to link to maybe my LinkedIn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an A tag. So in HTML, links are A tags. So I'm going to do an A tag, and I need to give it a property, and the property is href. So href equals empty quote just for now, and then A tags are not self-closing because there needs to be something that's hyperlinked. What I did is an open A tag, so A href equals empty quotes, and then closing A tag, and in between I need to put some sort of text that's going to be hyperlinked. I'm going to type in LinkedIn. Awesome. And then in here, in these quotes, you can type in the actual link. So the link should be, I'm just going to put in, HTTPS ://linkedin.com. And if you click run, you should see a link to LinkedIn right here. You can put in your actual LinkedIn later or whenever you have a chance. I think this is what my link is. So I'm just going to click run. Sweet. And let's open this in a new tab to see if it looks good too. Awesome. It looks pretty nice. So let's go back. That's how you do links in HTML. But one thing that I don't like about this, I don't like how it's blue. I want to style that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color. So what I'm going to do is do A, and then I'm going to style that to remove any text decoration that the A tag already has. So I'll do text -decoration, set that to none. So that gets rid of the underline. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the color. So I just want a nicer blue color. So I'm just going to start with something like this. And I'm going to hover over and get a color picker. So I can select the exact blue that I'd like. Maybe something a little lighter. I think it would look better. And click run. Okay, awesome. That's the blue that I like. Then maybe I want to bold the text. So what I can do is I can do font-weight, and I can set that to be bold. Awesome. So we learned a lot of HTML and CSS, actually, if you think about it. We learned about colors, different fonts, border radiuses, padding, this flex box. And then in terms of tags, we learned about H1 tags, H2 tags, image tags, and of course link tags, which are A tags. But now I want to move on to JavaScript. And JavaScript, as Max said, allows you to add interactivity to your website. And it's a really awesome way to really add interactive behavior. And whenever you click on a button on a web page, that is actually triggering a JavaScript function. It's like a more traditional scripting language that allows you to do a lot of cool stuff. And most like modern web apps have some sort of JavaScript that they use. So let's go ahead and go to script.js. And you might be wondering, what exactly are we building in JavaScript? And I think it'd be really cool to make a dark mode. So just how, or like if your website is already dark, if you have like a background color that's dark, you might want to make a light mode and toggle between it. But basically, I'm going to be creating a dark mode. You can create a different mode if you want, but at the end of the day, we're just going to be changing the colors of our web page whenever we click on a certain key on our keyboard. So one thing is I just wanted to go back and go to our style.css. And one thing that I forgot to mention is that you can actually set a background color. So within body, I'm just going to do background : and you can do like any color you'd like. So you can do red. Once again, your background is red. But I'm going to make this a really off-white color. FO. It's like a hex code. But you can choose whatever color you'd like. And once again, you can do that by hovering over this and choosing whatever color you'd like. By default, it's just plain white. Awesome. So this is what we have so far. Let's go into JavaScript. So in JavaScript, what we want to do is that whenever we click on a certain key, let's pick the space bar. So whenever we click on the space bar, we want to change the colors of our site. So basically what I mean by colors is I want to change this white background and make it dark. And then I want to make all this text white or like a lighter color. So to do that, let's actually see what it would look like. So we can actually use something called classes. And classes in HTML are another way of specifying different styles to an element. So we can target it by just like, adding styles to the body element, but you can even add a class or add or remove a class to add or remove styles to an element. And if that sounds confusing, don't worry. We're going to be going through this real quick, and you'll get a better idea as we do it. So we'll do body class equals, in quotes, dark. So make sure you have that. You can name this whatever you want. I just named it dark, but just make sure to be consistent. If you're not sure, just make sure this follow along to what I have. So I did body class equals dark. I just added on to the existing body tag. Then I'm going to go back to style.css. And what I want to do is I want to edit this class to make my website have dark mode. So I'm going to do dot dark. And then I'm going to do an opening, closing bracket before. But the reason we have a dot in front of it is that specifies a class. So since we have a dark class on body, we can actually specify this. So I am going to do, whenever we have the dark class, I would like to make the background a really dark color. So I'm just going to start with black, and maybe I'll just make it like a dark grayish color, something like this. So if I click run, we have a dark background. That's pretty cool. And then something that I want to do is that when we have a dark background, I also want my color to be white, or I'm just going to make it the background color. So that was FO. Once again, just make it a lighter color. So just make this run. Oh, why isn't this working? So to resolve this, I actually specified the color for the div in an element that's further down. So the way CSS works is the more specific you are with your style, the more precedence it gives that style. So my color of FO, just like really white, off-white color, is actually being overridden by my original style of this RGB color that's traditionally dark. So I'm going to move this color right here. So I'm just going to cut this out of this div, and I'm going to put it into this body. So that way, we're editing the color at a higher level than what was before. And if this is confusing, just follow along on what I did, and we'll answer questions after. But basically, what I just did is now I'm setting the color for the whole web page, not this, just the body element. So if I do this, awesome, our text is white. So if you take a look at this, this is what dark mode looks like. In the future, what I can do is I can change the, I can change the box shadows and the border colors, but I'm sure you can do that after. And in the interest of time, we just need to move forward. But this is what this dark mode looks like. So if I go back to index.html and I remove this dark class right here, if I click run, we have our normal website. And then when I add the dark mode, we have our dark mode website. I think that's one of the coolest parts. So now we want to use JavaScript to make it very easy to switch between our dark mode and our light mode. So to do this, we need to hop into our script.js file. And with the script.js file, we want to do something like document.body on key up and set that equal. So what we're doing here is document is the whole HTML document that we're accessing. And then body is we're accessing the body tags. We're accessing everything in between the opening body tag and the closing body tag. And then on key up is an event listener. So it's listening for any keys that are pressed. And whenever a key is pressed, we want to run a function. So I just decided that we're going to be using the spacebar. So whenever a key is pressed, we want to check if that key is a spacebar, then toggle that dark class. So either add or remove that class depending on if it's already there or not. So there's actually an inbuilt function for that, so don't worry. But what we can do is, so document.body.onKeyUp, set that equal to a function. So I'm going to type in function. And then within JavaScript, every event listener has an implicit parameter that's passed. So you can name this whatever you want. You just need to add a parameter in between the opening and closing parentheses of this function. And a parameter is basically data that is passed every time a certain event happens. So I'm just going to type in and name this parameter as E. And then just opening and closing bracket for the function syntax. And once again, if you're very, very new to JavaScript, no worries. You can always just follow along my replit that I just sent again. But going back here, what we want to do is whenever a key is pressed, we want to check if the key code is a space. So I'm going to do if e.code equals space, and then actually what I'm going to do is I went a little too fast. I want to show you exactly what's happening here. So we're going to return to that really quick. But instead of that, let's do console.log e. I just want to start off really simple. So if I just pull up this console here, this right here, if I type in run, what I'd love for you to do is click on your website and then start pressing any key. And as you press a key, you should see this keyboard event that gets logged into your console. So you can even look at this in your web page as a whole. So if you go back, if you go back to the site and open a new tab and you inspect, you'll be able to see the console. So what you want to do is once again click on your website and just start typing. And if you can't get it, just like look at this, and it's really important that you understand this and see what's going on. So if I'm right here and if I look at my console, you can see every time I press a key, a keyboard event is logged to the console. So if I click on this log, you can see that there's a lot of information. There's a key code, there's there's a numerical key code, and there's a lot of information about what exactly happened with the event. And with every event listener, there's a click event listener on the internet. There's like a touch event listener if you're touching something on your phone. There's so many different event listeners, and this is just one of them. And it's a really valuable thing to learn in JavaScript because it allows you to run functions whenever the user takes up some action and a certain event happens. So now that we have an idea of how these events work, I'm going to go back, and what we want to do is this function that we are defining is something we want to be called every time someone presses on a key. We want to trigger between light and dark mode. So let's continue with this. So do if e.code equals space in quotes, just like this. So if our key e.code, so if our key code is space, then what we want to do is we want to toggle the class. So we can do document.body.class.list.toggle, and then in parentheses we can do dark, because that's the name of the class that we want to toggle. If I click run, and I'm going to open this in a new tab. So I'm opening this in a new tab. I'm going to press the space bar, and awesome. We are now toggling between light and dark mode, which is honestly really cool. So if you go back into Replit, this is the JavaScript code that we just wrote, and I'm just going to go through it one more time just in case you are trying to understand it. So we did document.body.onKeyUp. So whenever someone presses on a key, what we want to do is call this function. And this function will check if the implicit parameter, which has the data about the event, if its code is equal to the space in the space code, then toggle the mode between light and dark. And if we want, right now, by default, we have dark mode, but I can actually just remove this. If I remove this and go back and open up my web page, I have my website by default on light mode. And when I click on the space bar, it's dark mode. One thing that we can add to make the transition a little more smoother is it's adding a transition. So what I'm going to do is within body, I'm going to do transition all 300 milliseconds ease. So I have a 300 milliseconds easing transition. You can experiment with this and experiment with the time. But if you click run and you head back to this, and you click on the space bar, you should have a nice fading animation in between light and dark mode. Okay, awesome. You just built your first personal website in HTML and CSS. I'm going to spend the next 2 or 3 minutes answering questions, and then I want to move on to showing you how you can actually deploy your site and share with you a lot of cool resources that you can use as you begin your web development journey. So going back, in terms of the function, I'm just going to show the function code because someone had a question with that. What's written after function? So what I did here is I did function, and then this E is the implicit parameter. It has data about the event that just took place. And then this is the opening bracket and the closing bracket that corresponds. And in between it, we have an if statement. And the if statement is saying is that if this event that just took place, if its key code is equal to space, which is the space bar, we want to toggle between dark and light mode by toggling the classes of body. Awesome. So your image might be coming for a question mark if you used the wrong image address. You need to have an image address if you're getting from the internet, or if you're uploading it, you need to just make sure you just add the right, you put the right name of the image right there. Awesome. Are there any important key codes we should remember? No. What I like to do is you can always Google key code. So type in key code for the D key. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everything is on Google, and make Google your best friend whenever you're working on any cool things and any projects. My website starts on dark mode. It starts on dark mode because if you go to index.html, you have a class by default set to dark. So if you remove dark, the default class will just be normal light, and then the dark mode will be added when you click the space bar. The syntax error, it might just be a spacing thing, so I highly recommend you just look through my code that I just sent in the chat. Can you have separate divs so you can style one of them? Yes, you can, but what makes sense is you have separate divs with separate classes, and you style those classes instead of just styling the divs, because if you style one div, it'll apply to all the divs. So that's why classes are so great, because you can apply classes to certain elements and just style those elements. So like if I add another H1 here, it will style that H1 just how I styled the original H1. If I add another div, it's actually going to create a border for me, and I don't want that. So what you can do is you can just style a class and add that class to that div. Okay, amazing. It's 6:50, and we'll be there to help out with more questions after. But next up, one of the most important parts is actually deploying our website. So to do this, what I would like you to do is click on the top 3 dots up here. Even if your website is like not 100% done, don't worry, you can always make updates, so please follow along. So on the 3 dots up here, click on download as zip. So Replit allows us to have a really nice, development environment. But if you actually want to have a production ready, web page that you can share with anybody, you're gonna want to, deploy it on some server. And when I say server, I'm saying another computer that's capable of handling that request to show your website to other people. So what we can do is we can use something called Netlify. So can everyone please go to netlify.com? It's completely free. and it's a great hosting provider for static sites. So go ahead and log in. You can log in, or I mean sign up, because you probably don't have a Netlify account. You can sign up with email or GitHub or whatever you have. So I'm gonna give a second for everyone to sign up, and then you should come to this page where it has your name on the top left. So I'm just gonna give you guys 30 seconds to sign up, and yeah, awesome. And of course, Max, myself, and the workshop helpers will be here to help after if you're running into any issues and such. Okay, so once you're at this page, what you want to do is click on, you want to scroll all the way to the bottom. Actually, no, you don't want to do that. You want to click on Sites up here. So click on Sites and scroll all the way to the bottom. You will actually already have this, so don't worry, you don't need to scroll. But it'll say, want to deploy a new site without connecting to Git? Drag and drop your site folder here. So what you want to do is drag and drop the zip file that you just downloaded. So this is my zip file that I just downloaded. I'm dropping it right here, and it will actually start deploying your site, which is awesome. So what we can do here is click on, if you click on this random sort of URL that I generated, click on that. Your site is here, which is awesome. It works really well. You click on the space bar, it's great. And the next thing that you want to do is click on domain settings right here, so you can customize the domain. So click on domain, then click on options, and then click on edit site name. And I'm just going to edit it and write my name and click save. And then awesome. Then you should have edited your Netlify domain. So right now this is still a Netlify domain, but what we want to do is you don't need to do this, but in the future, if you wanted to make this your personal site, more professional, you can actually buy your own domain for like $9 or $10 a year, and link it to Netlify, and it's very easy. All you gotta do is click on Add Custom Domain, and Netlify should be able to guide you through the process. But yeah, this is how you deploy it to Netlify and have your website on Netlify itself.
Hey,
Awesome.
Samay, can we do one more demo of downloading from Replit? I think a couple of people might want to see that again.
Yeah. So to download from Replit, all you gotta do is click on the 3 dots and then click on Download as Zip right over here. And once you download it as zip, all you gotta do is drag and drop it into Netlify to upload it and deploy it. So once you have this site right here, right, that's really awesome. We have one last thing that we want to do, and is we want to share it with everyone in the community. So what I would love for you to do is take a screenshot of your website. So on Mac, to take a screenshot is Command Shift 4, and I'm just going to take a screenshot of my website right here. Max will chime in about Windows. I think it's print screen.
There's a print screen option if you want to do that, or if you just want to clip it, you can do the Windows key Shift S, and that'll just open up the web clip, and that might be a little nicer.
Yeah, awesome. So after you take a screenshot, go to this link that we're about to send in the chat. So hackthenorth.enlight.nyc, and we've actually put together a really fun gallery so that we can explore everyone's sites. So you go there, there'll be a place where you can type in your name. You can copy and paste your Netlify URL. So whatever your Netlify URL is, and then a place where you can upload your image. So I'm gonna go back here. I just wanna make sure I have access to everything. Okay, so once you get to this page, type in your name. My name is Samay. My website URL is here. I'm just gonna copy and paste it from here and then put it right here. And then my image is right here. I'm gonna drag and drop it and just wait for it to upload. So it should say uploading right here. And then just click on submit right here. Awesome. Now we're just gonna watch the submissions come in. We're at 7. Let's see if we can get to, I don't know how many people are here, 200. So I expect to see at least 200 submissions. And it'd be really cool to see all the submissions come in. So we're at 10 submissions. Come on, guys, we can do better. 14.
We can take a break to jump back to Netlify if people want to see how to set the domain again.
Yeah, to set the domain, to set the domain, you're going to do click on domain settings, and then scroll down and click on options, and then click on edit site name. And edit site name, you can edit the name and then click save. Just want to quick edit. Okay, 25. Let's keep it up, guys. And then other questions. We're going to be sticking around for other questions, but in the last 2 or 3 minutes, we're going to be showing you some resources that you can use, so that as you begin your web development journey. But all these websites look really great. I love how you've been able to incorporate like your own colors and such, and hopefully explore and see the other projects that your fellow friends have created at Hack the North. Sweet. So if you whenever I update the website, I need to re-upload the zip file to Netlify. Exactly. So if you update the website in Replit, what you want to do is click on deploys and then drag and drop it right here. And that will automatically deploy the latest version of the website. So going back to resources, just that we have 2 or 3 minutes left, just wanted to share some. So we have a couple cool resources to show you. One is our project directory at Enlight, and we'll show you that in just a second. Then we have Replit, which is what we just used. Then there's HTML reference.io, which has a list of all the HTML elements. And there's CSS reference.io, which has a list of all the CSS elements and their properties. And then there's Free Code Camp. If you want to learn a little bit more about the syntax and get more familiar with it, strongly recommend that. And then we personally love, learning by doing and learning by building projects. So the site that you're on right now, if you actually click on projects up here, Max and I have been working on creating this community together of projects where you can learn to code by building projects. So if you click on the category of web development, and then you go to difficulty of beginner, there's a handful of different projects that you can check out to build, like a to-do app, a web paint app, a hex color generator. So would love for you to check that out whenever you have a chance, and I'll send that. Max just sent it in the chat, which it's a great resource to use. And then if you're looking for more specific help on any one of these projects, you can actually join the Enlight Discord, which Max and I help run, and you can get a lot of useful feedback and help there, and learn about what other people are working on as well. So I'm just going to go back to the gallery, and as we look at the gallery submissions, we can be happy. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
I'll also chime in. If you'll probably join the Discord, and we're going to be in the front end channel throughout the rest of today, and through week and weekend as we get to the actual Hack the North. So if you ever have questions about this workshop or maybe a couple other front end questions, feel free to hit us up. Always happy to help.
Yeah. We have 49 submissions. I'm not sure that's right. Maybe I can just refresh the page. I hope we can hit at least 100, and get 50% of the viewers here. But this is still really solid. It's really awesome to see what you guys have created. And thank you so much for coming to the workshop. We'll be here to answer any questions you may have. So feel free to send them in the chat. How do you make your link work? Just make sure you have HTTPS :/ in front of your link. That's the only way it's going to work.